I enjoy AR bolt carriers that do not have gas vents because that means there's no gas coming back into the receiver. This is the GPx from Bear Creek Arsenal, a surprisingly affordable piston upper, retailing for, well, half or under what many of the other big famous piston makers have. I'm curious to see how they put this thing together. I've already seen some things I like, some things that I might be concerned about. I'm going to do a tabletop of this upper, and then another video we'll hit the range and see how it performs. That's what's coming up next on GBGuns. Bear Creek Arsenal, I gotta admit, kind of surprised me when they announced this a few months ago. Always known them for very high value, very affordable stuff. We once had a complete rifle from them that retailed for something around $350 and was sub-MOA and 100% reliable. Like, what more can you really ask for? Was it pretty? No. Did it have sexy stuff on it? No. But it worked and it shot really well and it was really, really affordable. So when they announced that they're doing a piston upper, I got kind of excited because I like pistons. I'll get more into that once I get the handguard off and show you how all this works. But in short, a piston upper, though it does add some weight and change the recoil impulse to what you might be used to on direct impingement, it means that there is no gas coming back into here, or at least minimal gas. That keeps things cooler and cleaner back here, which can help with reliability. As a guy who gets tired of cleaning guns all the time, it also makes it a whole lot easier to clean. And if you're interested in suppressors, which are also becoming a lot more affordable as the market gets saturated, they tend to suppress better because you don't get as much noise back here, and you definitely don't get as much gas in the face when you throw a suppressor on a piston gun. So I've got to pull some screws off because you do need a tool to do many things on this thing. But before I get into that, just to walk you through what you're getting for around $500. Their basic flash hider, whatever. That's not a complaint, especially at this price range. A rather stylish looking handguard. No slots up here, just lightning/vent holes. More on that later. Plenty of M-lock. We've got QD points on both sides. M-lock all the way around. This is an M4 profile phosphated barrel. Not my favorite profile, not my favorite coating, but at this price range, once again, not really something you can complain about, and it's a barrel design that has served the military for decades without issue. You've got rail up front if you need it, and a little bit of rail in the back if you want. It is a carbine length system, but running on a piston. And then we've got a billet upper that's nice and squared off. They almost got the lines the same between the handguard and the receiver. I mean, at this price range, I don't complain at all, but it's always baffled me how companies can make their handguard and their receivers not quite line up, or not even attempt to match the cuts here. Like, come on, guys, just somebody do that at some point. Bear Creek, if you're versed to do it, that'd be super cool. Well, not first, but you guys get what I'm saying. It is a side charger as well, which is pretty cool. I like side chargers, especially if you're going to put a suppressor on something to help cut down on the gas and mess in your eyes. And you can see we have this receiver plug. I currently have it in here loose. It's got a little grommet on there to tighten. You've got to basically make sure that this flat is going to be lining up with your lower receiver. Other than that, it's just there because this receiver could work for a standard charging handle. I'm going to pop this thing apart. I'll explain to you later what I do, but I don't want YouTube nannies to get me in trouble for popping it apart on camera. I'm going to pull off the handguard so we can take a look at that system, and I'm going to remove the charging handle so we can get the bolt carrier out, because both of them are semi-unique, or at least probably different than what you're used to on a standard AR. Now with the handguard off, we can take a look at the system, and I can show you how this thing works. What looks like a gas tube is actually your, I believe, tappet might be the mechanical term. The gas hits the gas block, comes up, hits the end of this piston, which then pushes, mechanically moves and mechanically pushes on the carrier. In the past, that has caused some issues with conversions and things like that, but piston ARs are getting pretty good at figuring things out. Getting the handguard off, by the way, it was the 8 screws that you saw radiused around the handguard. Not too bad, not too tough to do. This gas block, as you can see, is pinned on. in addition to 6 screws around the radius, so it's pretty bomb-proof. And it's important that they do that because there is a bit more resistance as the pressure builds up and starts to push on that piston than passing through a gas tube like normal. So that overkill of assembly there is kind of a nice way of assuring that it's not going to walk loose on you over time. On the end, we have a screw here, which is your adjustment. There are four positions and off, and the way this lines up, if I get my barrel of work on under the camera here, is the groove in the screw pointing at this little pin. That pin needs to be depressed, obviously, but that groove pointing at the pin is your sort of normal setting, your medium setting, and you can increase or decrease gas based on your needs. Decreasing if you've got really hot ammo, want the gun to shoot softer or are suppressing it. Increasing if you have soft ammo or you want increased reliability. As you increase it, this piston is going to slam harder into the carrier and going to operate the gun a little bit harder. I'll pull this thing off to show you the disassembly on this. No manual comes with these, but I was able to see it. I need to get a screwdriver. Was able to watch. Bear Creek has some great videos that explain all this. I'm just trying to consolidate it into one video for you. So while I do this, one of my concerns is how tightly that handguard, or how close that handguard fits to this whole system, because some gas is going to be venting and gas blocks get hot, and with it being a mid-length system, it seems like it's going to be really hot right by where your hand goes on the handguard, right? This is about an arm's reach in a position, and I've talked to some friends that have shot these and they do warn about it getting hot. How hot is going to depend probably on your setting and your ammo and your ambient temperature. So it'll be interesting to see how all that goes. So here's the screw, and you can see, the camera will get it, those lines representing your settings, and then the actual cut for the screwdriver is your mid setting. With that out of the way, if this thing will stop rolling around on me, we can pull out the piston itself. And you can see it's already got some carbon on it. This has been test fired, which is nice to know. But yeah, the gas hits that and pushes this rod, and that's what cycles the gun. To wrap up my thoughts though on this system, it appears to be a simple enough system, and it's on a very affordable setup. So, looks good so far. They do warn that this little plunger here that holds your screw in place is easy to lose and under spring pressure when you take the screw out. So keep an eye on that as you take things apart. Now you shouldn't have to clean your piston system very often. I don't expect it. And you do not need to disassemble like this to get the carrier out. I just did it because I wanted to show you guys. I'm going to throw the system back together, and then we'll take a look at the carrier, which I think has some pretty cool and smartly done things on it. It is unfortunate that you essentially have to remove the handguard to adjust your system, but unless you're going to be wildly changing your ammo or changing suppressed to unsuppressed, things like that, you shouldn't need to have to do too many adjustments here. Now onto our carrier, something that first struck me and kind of impressed me for the Bear Creek side chargers compared to those of the past, it's been a couple years since we've done one, is the screw that holds the handle in is a bit beefier, and you also have a locating pin here. So you've got two things to share the shear strength, or the shear stress when you're charging this thing. So should be good. I never had one of my old ones break on me, but I understand that it can happen. So it's nice to see that Bear Creek continues to improve these things. Under our carrier, it is a proprietary carrier, as it has to be. The bolt, of course, standard. We'll pull that out and take a look at it. But you'll notice that rather than a gas tube here, or a setup for the gas tube to inject gas into the system, it's just tapping on the steel. And I applaud Bear Creek for this being one piece. You notice that's not a bolt-on aftermarket adaptation. It is part of the whole carrier, which is excellent. One of the concerns that comes about in piston-driven ARs is, since that force is hitting up here, is it going to want to tilt the carrier? They have beveled the edges here to help keep that from catching on your buffer tube extension. So it should be good to go there. But nice and fairly cleanly done. Let me pop this apart and we'll take a look at the bolt. Sometimes these pins can be a little tough. That's a little bit too thick. This is not the right tool for the job, but it's the tool I have for the job at the moment. There we go. There's our firing pin, cam pin, and now we can get our bolt out. And you can see that it's magnetic particle inspected, which is nice. It's nice coast. The lubrication is applied where it should be. And for those curious about extractors, well, that's a nice loose fit. We do have the single polymer piece inserted inside the spring there. I've heard that you want the polymer in the middle or the donut, but not both. It's interesting to see that some companies use both. In my experience firing a lot of different ARs over the years in a lot of different conditions, I've yet to see any real issues or causation or need for one system over the other. Unless the entire gun is worn out. That's usually when you start to see stuff like that. So, also nice that these corners on the cam pin are a little bit rounded. In other reviews of this, there were complaints of light strikes. I mean, the firing pin might have been out of spec, a little short, or whatever trigger they had in their lower didn't have enough gusto, or hard primers or poorly seated primers in the ammunition. So when we get to the range, we'll of course continue our tradition of testing with a variety of ammunition. I'm not sure which lower I'll slap this on yet for test. If you guys want to see a lower that we've reviewed in the past reused for the purpose of testing this thing, then let us know in the comments. But otherwise, I'm fairly impressed. There's not much to complain about when you have an option to get a piston upper at such an affordable price. I mean, $500 is pretty cool. If you're not sure on piston versus DI, does it really matter? It kind of depends on your application, what you're looking to do with the gun. Pistons sometimes have a little more recoil, or it feels like a stouter recoil because it's an actual mechanical jarring of the carrier to get it moving versus a gas pressure building and pushing. So I don't know, on 5.56 I don't think it really matters that much. We'll find out when we get this thing out here. I do kind of wish it was a different barrel profile or barrel, but that's really a petty, insignificant preference on a system like this. I don't think it really matters that much. So I'm looking forward to getting to the range with it. We'll do some break-in with it. We'll try it with different loads of ammunition and try accuracy with different loads of ammunition. Just a 16-inch barrel. The twist on here is 1 1/8, so nicely done, and it's a 5.56 NATO chambering. That's a tabletop look at the Bear Creek Arsenal GPX. Next will be the range video. We'll see you guys on the range. Thanks for watching.